I woke up to the sound of metal clanging outside my window, the kind that doesn't belong in a quiet neighborhood at dawn. When I looked out, my stomach dropped. Overnight, a full steel gate had been installed across the road leading to my property. Not a temporary barrier, not a warning sign. A locked, bolted gate, planted like a declaration of war, and standing beside it, arms crossed and smiling, was the HOA president. Everyone feared, the woman neighbors whispered about but never challenged. This wasn't a mistake. It was a move. By the time I stepped outside, she was already waiting. She told me the road was now private HOA access and that I was trespassing. I calmly explained that this road had been public for decades and served my home long before the HOA existed. She didn't care. She handed me a printed notice, complete with fines, deadlines, and threats of towing. Her confidence was unsettling, like she'd rehearsed this moment. Neighbors watched from behind curtains. No one spoke up. This was how she operated, quietly, decisively, and without warning. I tried reasoning with her, asked who approved the gate, and requested documentation. She waved me off and said the board had voted unanimously. I knew that wasn't true. Half the board had complained to me about her behavior for months, but she knew fear worked better than facts. I called the HOA management company. No answer. I emailed the board. Silence. By midday, delivery trucks were turning around, and I was effectively trapped. That's when she returned, clipboard in hand, reminding me that every hour the gate remained violated would result in additional fines. She wanted me angry. She wanted me desperate. Instead, I made one call she didn't expect. Not a lawyer, not the city. Law enforcement. A friend of mine who understood property law better than she ever would. As I waited, she leaned against the gate like she owned the world, confident no one would dare question her authority. She kept repeating one phrase, louder each time. "This is HOA property now." She had no idea how wrong she was. The patrol car rolled in slowly, tires crunching against gravel that the HOA had never paid to maintain. My friend stepped out, calm and professional, scanning the gate before looking directly at her. The confidence on her face flickered, just for a moment. She recovered quickly, launching into a rehearsed explanation about safety, community rules, and unauthorized access. She spoke fast, hoping volume would replace legality. He didn't interrupt. He walked the length of the gate, examined the bolts, and asked a simple question. "Who authorized this installation?" She proudly stated the HOA did, as if that ended the discussion. He asked for permits. She said they weren't required. He asked for property maps. She said she didn't have them on hand. Each answer chipped away at her certainty. That's when he asked me for my documents. I handed him a folder I'd kept for years, never thinking I'd need it like this. Deeds, easements, historical plats. He flipped through them carefully, then looked back at the gate. His tone changed, calm but firm. He explained that the road was a legally recorded access route, predating the HOA by decades. Blocking it wasn't just an HOA violation. It was unlawful obstruction. Her smile vanished. She argued. She insisted. She raised her voice. Neighbors began to gather, drawn by the tension. My friend warned her once. She ignored him. He warned her again, explaining the consequences. She laughed, saying no one would enforce it. That was her mistake. He stepped aside and made a call. Within minutes, another unit arrived, then another. The gate that symbolized her power now sat surrounded by uniforms and flashing lights. The board members she claimed supported her suddenly stopped answering their phones. She tried to shift blame, saying contractors acted independently. No one believed her. An officer informed her that the gate would need to be removed immediately. At HOA expense, she objected, threatened lawsuits, and demanded names and badge numbers. None of it mattered anymore. The authority she'd relied on was gone, replaced by real law. As the first bolt was cut, she stepped back, pale and shaking. For the first time, she realized control only works until truth shows up. The sound of metal hitting. The ground echoed louder than any argument she'd made that morning. Neighbors watched in disbelief as the gate came down piece by piece, the illusion of authority collapsing with every cut. Phones were out now, recording everything. The same people who once avoided eye contact were whispering, pointing, finally seeing what unchecked power looked like when challenged. She tried one last tactic. She claimed the HOA would retaliate with fines, liens, and legal action. My friend responded evenly, explaining that retaliation would only add to her problems. Blocking emergency access alone could trigger serious penalties. Her shoulders slumped. The clipboard hung useless at her side. Board members finally arrived, faces tense and confused. They claimed ignorance, insisting they'd never approved the gate. That was documented. Messages, emails, and meeting minutes contradicted her story. The officers took statements, Contractors admitted they'd been hired directly by her, paid from HOA funds without approval. Every detail tightened the net. By late afternoon, the road was clear. Traffic flowed again like nothing had happened. Except everyone knew something had changed. The myth of her invincibility was gone. People started talking openly about past threats, unexplained fines, and intimidation. What had been private frustration became collective outrage. She avoided eye contact as she left. No longer the ruler of the neighborhood, just another resident facing consequences. An investigation was opened. HOA accounts were frozen pending review. The board scheduled an emergency meeting. For the first time, transparency was unavoidable. That evening, neighbors stopped by my house. Some apologized for staying silent. Others thanked me for standing firm. I told them the truth. This only worked because I didn't react emotionally. I documented everything, and I made the right call at the right time. Power thrives on isolation. The moment light hits it, it shrinks. What started as a gate became a lesson the entire neighborhood would remember. Rules matter. Authority has limits. And intimidation fails when facts walk in wearing a badge. As the sun set, the road lay open, exactly as it had been for decades. No gate, no threats. Just access restored and balance returned. The fallout didn't end with the gate. Over the following weeks, the HOA faced audits, resignations, and a complete restructuring. She stepped down under pressure, citing personal reasons, though everyone knew the truth. The investigation uncovered misuse of funds, unauthorized decisions, and a pattern of bullying that had gone unchecked for years. New leadership was elected with one rule above all others: transparency. Meetings were recorded. Votes were documented. Residents finally felt heard. The atmosphere shifted from fear to cooperation almost overnight. It was proof that communities don't need iron fists to function, just fairness and accountability. Law enforcement closed the case once compliance was verified, but the lesson lingered. The road remained open, clearly marked as protected access. The HOA updated its bylaws to prevent unilateral actions. Contractors now required multiple approvals. What happened became a reference point, a reminder of how quickly authority can be lost when abused. She moved shortly after. No farewell, no explanation, just gone. Some said she sold under pressure. Others said she couldn't stand the loss of control. Either way, the neighborhood breathed easier. Kids played freely again. Neighbors talked without whispering. The tension that once hung in the air disappeared. For me, it reinforced something important. Standing up doesn't always mean shouting. Sometimes it means staying calm while someone else reveals who they are. I didn't tear down the gate. I didn't argue endlessly. I let the truth do the work. If there's one takeaway, it's this. Never assume someone's authority is absolute. Ask questions. Demand proof. Know your rights. And don't be afraid to involve the right people when lines are crossed. That gate was built overnight, but it fell just as fast. Not because of force, but because it never belonged there in the first place. Power without legitimacy is fragile, and sooner or later it always collapses. Can you believe this HOA Karen drama? If you love this chaos, subscribe now so you don't miss any crazy neighborhood stories. Smash that like button and drop a comment below. What would you do if someone tried to block your road? Don't forget to hit the notification bell too.